Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we're embarking on a tasty adventure through the history of food. We'll uncover the origins of ancient grains, trace the development of classic dishes, and explore how modern fusion cuisine has changed the culinary landscape. So grab a snack and join us as we dive into how the foods we love have evolved over the ages. Let's get started. Let's rewind to around 10,000 BC, when humans were mostly hunter-gatherers. Picture small groups of people moving from place to place, hunting animals and foraging for wild plants. Their daily lives revolved around survival, finding food, water, and shelter. But something incredible was about to happen. Something that would change the course of human history forever. This era marked the beginning of agriculture, and it didn't happen overnight. Early humans began noticing that the seeds from wild plants, when planted, could grow into food. Over time, they learned how to plant, tend to, and harvest crops. This wasn't just a light bulb moment. It was more like a slow discovery that spread across different parts of the world. From the Fertile Crescent in the Middle East to parts of Africa, Asia, and the Americas. Let's imagine the scene. Early farmers bending down in their small, simple plots of land, planting barley or wheat. In another corner, someone's probably figuring out that domesticating animals, like goats or sheep, means they don't have to hunt as often. This shift allowed humans to settle down in one place for the first time. Instead of chasing after herds of animals or searching for edible plants, they could grow their food. Now, this is where things get really interesting for food development. As people settled, they began experimenting with new cooking techniques. They discovered that grinding grains into flour made it easier to eat and store. Early bread making started to happen around this time. Fermentation was another exciting discovery. Imagine someone leaving out some grain mush and accidentally inventing beer or sourdough. In ancient Egypt, food wasn't just about eating. It was part of their lifestyle, their beliefs, even their economy. Imagine a world where bread and beer were staples, not just for meals, but for religious ceremonies and even currency. Yeah, that's right. Beer wasn't just for drinking. It was literally money back then. The Egyptians really knew how to prioritize. They were actually the pioneers when it came to bread making. While we might take fluffy bread for granted today, the Egyptians were the first to figure out how to make it rise using yeast. Before them, bread was just flat and dense, like ancient pita or flatbread. But these folks were smart. They observed yeast and realized it could transform their dough into something much healthier and tastier. And once they perfected that, they didn't look back. Let's not forget the beer. Beer was a huge deal. They made it using barley, and it was so common that even workers building the pyramids were paid in loaves of bread and jugs of beer. Imagine clocking in at your construction job and getting beer as your paycheck. Not a bad deal, right? But food wasn't just practical. It was also part of their spiritual world. Offerings to the gods often included loaves of bread, fruits, and other foods. They believed that in the afterlife they would need nourishment, so they'd leave food in tombs for the journey.
The Egyptians had a pretty sophisticated understanding of ingredients and flavors. They weren't just eating to survive, they were enjoying it. They were some of the first to actually write down recipes. Food was woven into the fabric of their society, from daily meals to religious ceremonies. It was central to their culture, their economy, and even their concept of the afterlife.
Let's jump back in time to ancient Greece and Rome, where food was everything. In Greece, meals were simple but packed with flavor. Grains, fruits, and veggies were staples, but the real MVPs? Olives and honey. Olives weren't just for eating. They made olive oil for cooking and even skincare. And honey? It was their go-to sweetener, perfect for desserts like their famous honey cakes. Now, fast forward to ancient Rome, and things got wild. The Romans loved a good feast. Think of a table overflowing with exotic dishes and more courses than you can count. But it wasn't all about fancy dining. For the average Roman, street food was where it's at. Imagine walking through a busy Roman market, grabbing a hot pie or sausage from a vendor, or maybe a tasty chickpea pancake. Whether it was a gourmet feast or a quick snack on the go, food was a major part of life in ancient Greece and Rome, just like it is today. Let's embark on a journey along the Silk Road, the legendary trade route that bridged the East and West. Imagine caravans loaded with treasures, but the real gold? Spices. Black pepper, cinnamon, and cloves traveled thousands of miles to reach European kitchens, forever changing the way food was prepared and tasted. And it wasn't just spices. Dried fruits, nuts, and even cooking techniques made their way across cultures. Picture European chefs experimenting with exotic flavors, trying to impress royalty with these new ingredients. Fast forward to the 15th and 16th centuries, during the Age of Exploration. Explorers like Columbus and Magellan set sail, and they didn't just return with tales of faraway lands. They brought back tomatoes, potatoes, corn, and chocolate. Imagine the first time Europeans tasted chocolate. It was like discovering treasure again. These new foods were total game changers. Think about it. No tomatoes in Italian pasta sauces before this. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, in the Americas, indigenous peoples had already been cultivating crops for centuries. Corn, beans, and squash were their staples, long before Europeans arrived. These foods became the backbone of American cuisine and were essential to survival in the New World. So, when you're eating your next meal, remember, many of the flavors and foods we enjoy today traveled across continents and oceans, shaped by thousands of years of culinary exchange. Fast forward to the 19th century and boom! The Industrial Revolution is in full swing, transforming nearly every aspect of life, including the way we produce and consume food. One of the biggest game changers? Canning. Invented in the early 1800s, it allowed food to be preserved for much longer. Before this, fresh food spoiled quickly, and preserving food meant drying or salting it, which wasn't exactly gourmet. But with canning, things like fruits, vegetables, and even meats could be stored for months. Imagine opening up a can of peaches in the middle of winter. Mind-blowing for the time. These innovations brought more convenience and new flavors to everyday people's plates. You could have foods from different parts of the country or even other parts of the world. Imagine sitting down to a dinner with canned goods and fresh items shipped from hundreds of miles away. A true food revolution. In today's world, globalization has made it possible to enjoy foods from anywhere, no matter where you are. You can grab sushi in New York, savor tacos in Tokyo, or twirl pasta in Paris. But it gets even more exciting with fusion cuisine. That's when chefs blend flavors and techniques from different cultures to create something totally new. Think of Korean BBQ tacos, a perfect mix of savory Korean spices with the Mexican taco vibe. Or even sushi burritos, combining the fresh, clean flavors of sushi with the convenience of a burrito. Fusion cuisine is more than just food. It's a delicious example of how cultures can mix and create something greater together. It's like taking a culinary world tour, all in one bite. So next time you're eating out, try something adventurous because in fusion cuisine, anything is possible. So there you have it. From the humble beginnings of ancient grains to the dazzling world of modern fusion cuisine, the history of food is a tale of exploration, discovery, and deep connections. Every bite you take carries with it centuries of tradition and innovation, blending cultures and stories on your plate. Think about it. Whether you're enjoying a classic dish or trying something new, you're part of a rich tapestry that spans the globe. The next time you sit down for a meal, take a moment to savor not just the flavors, but the history behind them. If you enjoyed this culinary journey through time, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss out on our tasty content. And hey, if you've got a favorite historical dish or a fascinating food story, share it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and see you next time as we dive into more delicious history.